Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today and for your history of service. Secretary Shultz, Secretary Kissinger, you, along with former Secretary of Defense Bill Perry and former Senate Armed Services Committee Chairman Sam Nunn, have formed a group of former senior national security officials who've warned about the risk of nuclear proliferation. Together, you've called for a global effort to reduce reliance on nuclear weapons. In 2007, the four of you wrote, "We endorse setting the goal of a world free of nuclear weapons and working energetically on the actions required to achieve that goal." Now, today in this hearing, we have talked about Russia and Russia's nuclear policy, but I want to ask about America's nuclear policy. In the coming weeks, the Trump administration will release its nuclear policy review, which is rumored to call for new nuclear weapons capability, more usable nukes, and expanded conditions under which the United States would contemplate using a nuclear weapon. Secretary Shultz, do you continue to believe that the United States should reduce its reliance on nuclear weapons? And if so, why do you believe that would be in our national security interests?
I think the use of nuclear weapons.
Is your mic on?
I think it's on. I think the use of nuclear weapons would promote an exchange and would be devastating to our planet. So I continue to believe that we should be trying to eliminate them. We were getting there for a while, and now that's all stopped, and now our problem is proliferation. So this is a new problem. We have to work at it, and work at it hard.
Thank you. And specifically, you've recommended that we change the posture of our deployed weapons to increase warning time, and that we eliminate the class of short-range nuclear weapons that are designed to be forward deployed. How would taking steps like that reduce the risk of miscalculation that could lead to a nuclear exchange?
Well, actually, the intermediate range nuclear weapons we did deploy in the Reagan period, and particularly the ones we deployed in Germany, the Pershings, I think was the turning point in the Cold War. But we agreed with the then Soviets to eliminate them. So that whole class of weapons was eliminated. I read now that the Russians are in the process of violating that agreement. I'm no knowledge, just what I read in the papers about it. And I think that's an ominous development. But I agree very much with what Henry was saying earlier, that we need to somehow put a stop sign to the aggressive behavior of Russia and try to include them in a constructive dialogue, which then we could expand to other countries and try to get a joint enterprise going that would have the objective of getting nuclear weapons out of the world.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate your answer. There's one other topic I would like to ask you about. Last year, the Trump administration sought a significant cut to the funding for the Department of State, and many of us are concerned about reports of turmoil at the State Department, low morale, ambassadorships that have been left unfilled, senior career diplomats who are resigning in large numbers. And I know that Senator Reid asked about morale at the State Department, but I want to ask the question from a different point of view. The world still looks to the United States for leadership, and I'm concerned that we are increasingly not there to answer the call. So let me ask Secretary Kissinger and Secretary Shultz, what impact does the Trump administration's apparent downsizing of the State Department have on our national security and on advancing our interests around the world? Would you like to start, Dr. Kissinger?
I don't look at the State Department primarily in terms of its size. I would look at it in terms of its missions. And of course, its missions should be to supply us with a correct analysis of where we are functioning, of developing a group of people that can think strategically side by side with the Pentagon. So this must have a minimum size. And I would not make downsizing in the abstract a principal objective. When one looks at the organization chart of the State Department, there are a lot of special assistants and sort of technical assignments that can probably be dispensed with. I have not thought that the size of the State Department is the principal obstacle to foreign policy.
Dr. Shultz? I'm sorry.
So I think we should staff it to the level that we think is needed for our general foreign policy. I think this year it's too dramatic.
Thank you. Secretary Shultz?
Well, you told me, Rich, earlier when we discussed this, that the cuts that were proposed have not been gone through and that the Congress has limited them greatly, which I welcome. But I think it is essential that we have a strong foreign service to do the kind of analytical work that Henry was talking about and have the capacity in the field to execute. Execution is key. A strong analytical group. I added, when I was secretary, a lot of work on the security side. And in an odd way, as an economist, I had a little Council of Economic Advisors added because it seemed to me I was getting from people who knew a lot about subjects something that didn't have economic analysis in it. So we had a little CEA in the State Department. But that's just small organizational rearrangements. But I think we need a strong State Department. And as Rich was saying earlier, it's particularly important to have a strong inflow of talent because these are the people 10, 15 years from now that you'll be looking to. You've got to bring them in, train them, give them experiences. They're not going to learn from books. They've got to have experience out in the field, and that's what they get. So that's essential to keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Warren.
Thank you.